So how is it, guys? How's your life there? Is it okay? Everything go fine? All right, good to hear that, right? Okay, yeah. But mine, okay, basically I'm still have to work at homes because of my mom's situations there. So today also 2 o'clock we have the what we call that the regular checkups, but she actually doesn't feel very well for almost 3 weeks there, right? On and off there, right? Okay, so those have things that might going to be a bit kind of hard for me to go around, okay, quite long, okay, outside from the houses there, okay. I feel bad about it, but I try to make the best for you guys there. Don't worry there. So okay, I actually have been looking to Hey You kind of characters, okay, but I'm not going to use one of the Hey You characters that she has been done, all right, for week 4, all right. Okay, this is the one that Hey You there, right? I'm going to leave you actually going to create some of the challenges on these characters later on, right? Okay, for Fridays, but I'm going to use some of your characters here, all right? Some of your characters here, but not this one, lah, right? Okay, you want me to use this one? Huh?
No, this is the chibi one.
Chibi one, sure. Huh? I thought you want to have some challenges that you would with this kind of characters there. But maybe later on I'm going to work on it, but not today lah. Okay, because today I'm going to cover 2 areas there. All right, the animation for the characters, which is the very basic walk cycle at first, maybe a bit kind of expressions, and also if we have time, I'm going to demonstrate to you guys also how we can work background there. Okay, design a background, a very simple background, which is you guys have been working on if you actually in our IVN classes, right? So the method is almost the same, but the difference is the tool that we are going to use. I will show you guys the method that we're going to use in creating a background for Flash is more easy and faster than AI lah, right? Okay, and you guys can see the experience from here later on. So I think you actually have been designed these characters for week 2, right? So let me check the record because I find out there's a lot of characters that you've been designed previously. So I'm going to choose one of the characters over here. Okay. All right now, okay, this is the one there, right? I'm going to save the files there first over here. That print screen there more better there, right? So for your FYP, hey, you there, right? Do you have any what we call that the idea that you're going to use for your campaign are going to add any character design or
No,
mascot? No?
no. It's
Yeah.
all ideas and like strategy.
Okay. So on the visual itself, what are the things that you guys are going to plan to work?
We haven't started on the key visual, but like the color palette is like set. But we're not gonna do characters because we're doing it for online skincare reseller. So if we put characters, it would be um not suitable. So maybe minor graphic elements only.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the campaign basically awareness lah, public awareness.
No, it's more like how do you say? Because it's skincare, ma.
Oh,
So
skincare. All right. Okay.
it's like everybody has like different routines and different journey to like good skin.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go to that direction where we encourage them to, where we tell them that there's no right or wrong, like the skincare.
But you're not actually selling any product there, right? Or promote any product there.
We are.
Okay. The product
Like,
already exists lah.
mm, the product will do shootings and all.
Okay. who actually online there, right? Weng Jun is here. Okay, Yang Fan is here. Yang Fan, how is it, right? How are you? Okay, Yang Fan? Your condition, is it okay? Yang Fan? I believe that what we call that, tailors also have the policy that okay, if you guys not coming more than 3 times, basically they might going to be bar you right from the list, right? So if that happens, basically please inform me earlier, okay? Because like Yan Fan, I already told him to get a formal letter, okay? But the formal letter that he actually has, okay, for the medical certificate is in Chinese there, okay? So I haven't actually graduated from Chinese kind of language kind of subjects yet. So that means you need to write a formal letters, basically a very simple formal letter, right? Put the names, okay, my names there, right? Okay, and also the Taylor College kind of address, right? Okay, just to inform that why actually you didn't came to the class for the past uh, 4 weeks time there, okay. So that means I can cover back again basically your attendance, okay, when I actually uh, put the claims on my what we call that on my claim itself, okay, because I haven't claimed yet for these 2 months kind of what we call that my kind of what we call that working kind of timetables there. So please actually right, okay, Yan Fan, okay, just I have to inform you that you have to make as soon as possible there, okay, so that I can actually because I'm going to make my claims and also some other claims that I have to what we call that reset back again, okay, for some of the technical issues that we have, what we call it around this week. So normally I'm going to give also my Excel kind of timetable that I actually tick your guys' name inside that kind of what we call that schedules there. So to the management, so they can take a look at okay, how many students who actually have attended classes, okay? Because I don't want you guys to have any trouble later on when it comes to the end of the semesters there, okay? All right. For the rest of you guys, also the same thing, okay? If you have some of the difficulty, please inform me. And if you can write formal letters, just email to me back again, okay? My personal email, you guys have directly myglob75 at Gmail. So work on that directly. Okay? Because all these kind of regulations, okay, attendance kind of stuff, right? Okay, all these kind of we have to do a little bit more proper because it's we're going to be affected basically your kind of studies, or if you guys want to take exam, I don't know, right? Okay, maybe it's kind of affected because some of the college that I go, the attendance will really strict, right? Okay, 2 times basically the student didn't came, right? Okay, and didn't inform us, right? Okay, even though I always recall and also inform them, right? Okay, the system will detect it more easy directly. So those are the things that's quite what we call that I have to inform you guys like okay, all these kind of regulations okay, about those attendance there. Okay. So you feeling better now lah, right? So good lah, okay, take care of yourself there, right? All right. Now, okay, when we look at the Heiyu kind of characters, okay, I bet she actually has a very strong influence with the Adventure Times there. And similar to the character that I already always have been created before there, right? All right now. Yeah, I've been wondering there, okay, why actually I cannot see you guys' face, right? In Teams, in Teams there, Microsoft Teams there. We just close the your webcam or you actually feel shy about it there, right? All right, guys. Okay, if we want to draw back again the characters, okay, I just have to recall back in because maybe Yan fan basically, okay, is actually have missed some of the demonstrations that I actually have done there, okay. But if you if Yan fan also some of you guys want to go back and recall back again, right? The sessions that we have did, and also I actually have been combined most of my demonstrations, okay, within these two campus that I have, okay, in one single YouTube, okay. I have another YouTube, basically my previous kind of portfolios there, all right. But this is the one that actually I did for the students there. Not only you, but all the students I already have teached there, okay. So if you guys really want to go deep into the lessons to develop your kind of understanding in the fundamental based on designing characters and proportions, basically, even though for me, even though there's a lot of demonstration that I did, Ricky, but for the beginners, it's not still not enough there because I still have to update and upgrade the lessons that I actually have give to the student. But I have to warn you guys, I don't have time basically to edit all these videos there. So the video is quite long, it's quite raw and rough there, right? It might be boring for new generation like you guys, but if you seek for more information to learning the process, how actually I did all these kind of developments there, okay, I gave basically those samples and the methods and techniques for the beginners there. For those who cannot draw well, all right, I'm not trying to promote my kind of channels there, but it's a part of my job basically to give you guys this kind of exposure there, okay. um, if you take a look back again, if you really want to learn about the fundamental techniques there, because I believe that I give a little bit more kind of deep kind of understanding and also developments process for those who actually cannot draw well, but they still can learn, all right, how to execute and develop their skills. But of course, there's a lot of practice, okay, practice. But the methods is there because this is not basically purely tracing there because people who trace, they don't actually try to combine with the skills that they have when they draw there, okay, especially when they're controlling the line and strokes there, okay. So I actually have give that kind of what we call that demonstrations from here, so to make sure that student can follow. But if you if you think that your level of skill is not too good, I think the method that I share with in this kind of channels might help you, as long as when you install the drivers, when you test your brushes using the tablet there, right? Okay, and certain kind of brushes that you guys use, basically like dry media brushes, Cal Ultimate brushes there that has charcoal, pencil, brush pen. That kind of brushes basically have the right kind of pressure and stroke. Basically, you guys can actually practice using that kind of brushes to develop the line, the stroke as well there, okay? As long as you can control it well there. So those are the things that I already give the demonstration. Some of the tactics that I show also manually, basically, okay, how actually I use pen, pencil there to draw, all this kind of thing has in this kind of what we call demonstrations there, okay? So you guys can check it out, okay? Whenever that you have times, you can actually can check it out, right, okay? So some of the videos, like simple kind of demonstrations, like shades and shadings here. All right. If you guys can actually access all this kind of technical kind of, okay, it's okay, I'll feed it, okay. If you guys can access, okay, this kind of what we call it my channels, please subscribe them, okay. And yeah, right. Hopefully you guys can gain benefit from there. All right. So hopefully, okay, because these videos I really enjoy sharing, right, okay, also some back-to-back kind of works there, okay, and some compositions basically that I did also, all right, for some of the students there, right, okay, you guys can see, okay, how actually I conduct the classes, right, okay. It's not that quite, for me, maybe it's not quite entertaining there at the moment there, right, because I really, just like your classes, right, okay, I just go through everything there, right, okay, without having some editing there. Maybe in the futures, right? Okay, I can hire you guys because you guys also know how to work with this kind of videos, everything, right? Right? Hire you guys to work on these videos itself, right? Hopefully there, right? Okay. So those are the things that I want to share with you guys also at the same time, especially like Yan Fan, right? Okay, just go through with it, right? While you having some snack, right? Okay, or you eat some of the Maggi or ramen, right? Okay, so you just enjoy it, right? Okay, even though it's quite boring, there, okay, but the knowledge there. the knowledge that I want to share with the students, right, is something that I cannot get. I didn't get when I actually was learning, right, okay, like you guys there. But I get a different kind of knowledge, right? But this is the thing that I actually share from my experience. What basically I think is quite important for the students to understand this, because I actually have seen a lot, okay, for the numbers of years there, okay. Most of the students who actually graduate in multimedia, especially, even though in graphic design, okay, when they do some sort of like, that's what I asked, what we call that, here about this question just now about FYP there, okay, because I saw some of the students, my students previously, okay, even though we actually have give a lot of exposures, yes, right. At the same time, I'm going to continue to this kind of exercise directly, this kind of demonstrations. Even though we actually have given a lot of demonstrations there, and also input there, and also books there, and also lecturing notes there. But some of the student always doesn't. It will take a lot of time there. But obviously sometimes when they want to go to interviews, for example, they don't know also how to. This is a senior student I'm talking about. They even doesn't know what to bring to the interview sessions there. The reason is because they don't have the right kind of portfolios, lah, right portfolios there. So I really recommend you guys don't relying only your portfolios that you create from your assignments there. Because most people, if you want to work in this kind of line or areas there, because what I did basically, the the assignments that I did basically for the what we call that when I was studies, right, it doesn't help enough to show basically my potentials there, our potentials there basically. So if you have extra kind of works that you did on your own, maybe you do some freelance kind of work at, right, okay, for example, or you help your parents' company to develop some sort of like a corporate kind of image there, or some of the like what we call that, some sort of like press ad or posters there, right? Okay, or some brochures directly, all this kind of below the line, okay, to promote your kind of business, it might help directly. It might help there, right? Like you guys actually have been working with the existing kind of products, it's more better directly. But the thing is, of course, okay, like hey, you told me before, directly, the research, the understanding on the products there will be a lot of critical kind of what we call that paperwork that you guys have to work like you have to develop because you have to understand in and out of those kind of products before you're going to promote them okay. But nowadays there's a lot of sample outside that you can use also to create your own kind of platform there, right? So now, all right, Yan Fan, right? If I actually go too fast, or maybe you not basically quite understand how to operate the tools, please let me know. All right. So now, all right, when you open up Adobe Animate or Adobe Flash, right, okay, one of the most important thing is you have to set up basically your canvas there. All right. So I already opened up and set up my canvas there. So if you go to modify documents over here, right, the format that we are going to use basically for our sessions, that most of our sessions here is around HD, half HD kind of format, is 16 by 9 or 1920 for width and 1080 per pixel for the height directly. The frame rates are going to be 25 frames per second. All right, so remember that. All right, the what we call that the setup of our format is going to be 1920 times 1080 there, okay? So the frame rates are going to be 25 frames per second there. All right. Okay, remember this one there, right? The setup there, okay? Always. You can actually set also for the default setup there, right? Okay. So when I actually open up or import basically the characters itself, okay? As I told you guys before, the best way you sketch first your ideas, your characters, and then you redraw back again in Flash. You want to sketch it out in Flash and also you clean up the line back again. Also possible there, depending on your skill that you have there, okay, your understanding to develop that kind of control of the skills itself, right? Okay. So now, just now I did import into the libraries there, right? What if for the first time you want to import the files there? So the best way, go to import to libraries, go import to stage, right? Import to libraries here, and you take those sketches that you actually have done before. Just now I already take those sketches, right? So I'm going to replace first the items over here. All right. So I already replaced the items over here. So I'm going to bring over to click and bring over to my stage there, right? This is basically our scene there, okay? Our scene, the first scene in our stage there. We can actually uh, add more scenes over here there, okay? You can insert more scene if you want to, okay? So in animations, the best way to manage our animations is divided every single set of motions by scene there, okay? So that one basically we have to work in storyboard effort, all right? But today we try to work with those animations there, okay? You want to animate those characters there, right? So this is one of the best ways because I already what we call that uh, share with you guys a very basic kind of bouncing ball exercise. But you have to remember one thing. Even though bouncing ball is a very basic exercise there, but it's basically it show all the principle inside them, right? Okay? But of course, in the early stage, a lot of students hardly will get or understand, okay, whether why basically bouncing balls is quite boring there, okay. But if you learn when you actually has developed more kind of times to animate all these characters later on there, right? So you will find the connection between bouncing ball and all the animations that you want to create after this, right? Okay? So because the stress and squash, the anticipations before the movements there, all right, the exaggeration of the movements, right? Okay, and the appealing of your design actually, right? Okay, all these kind of principles that you guys have been watched from the video that I show you guys before there, right? It will be important for you to what we call that apply on your characters in order to develop your characters look more interesting when it comes to the animations there. Otherwise, they're going to look like a puppet there, right? Okay? So our job is right now, okay? We want to make sure when we want to draw back again these characters there, all right? But this one is basically you actually have create in Adobe Animate, right? So I want to redraw back again, okay? So in order to redraw back again, okay, first of all, you have to add new layers there. Just add new layers there, right? Okay. And then these layers basically you can transparent them, okay? Uh, I don't know whether any Adobe Animate because I rarely try in Adobe Animate there before, but in what we call that Adobe, what we call it Multimedia Flash or Flash 8 here, there, right? What we can do basically, we can actually set these images into symbols there. This is basically a bitmap there, okay? When you actually transfer the JPEG files into the libraries there. Why we add into libraries? Because we have to make sure that if there is something happens with the system itself, this is something that I actually experienced before, right? If the files from your scene here are going to be corrupted suddenly, right? Okay, but if you actually have what we call it, keep all your works inside this libraries there, okay, most of the times, right? Okay, the bugs won't be affected. The element that you actually have create inside this library there, they're going to be affected only in this stage there because this stage is quite fragile there. If you delete this one, you save, you won't be able to get it later on, right? Okay. So what I can do, I will go to modify and convert to symbols there, F8. The button is F8 there, right? Okay. So I'm going to create one symbols over here. I put the names, CH for characters. It's not movie clip, it's not buttons, it's a graphic symbols there. Buttons basically for interactive media there, okay? Movie clips basically for to the programmers. I'm going to call the animations to create the interactives there, right? But for our pure animation subjects, we use graphics, okay? So from here, you can go to properties, right? Some of the properties over here, they're okay for Adobe Animate there. And you can go to the color folders over here and choose alpha there, right? Alpha means you can actually reduce the opacities of your design, right? Of your reference. You lock them up, always lock them, and click to this area. This one I'm going to rename there. The best way to rename your files there, right? Rename your layers there, right? Some companies basically they use a number kind of layers there for each different part of those characters there. I don't want to introduce that kind of methods, okay? Because for the students there, why? Because most of the students who want to create some animation in the futures for your FYP, for example, that okay, when we actually have introduced you guys this very systematic kind of methods there, okay, all the layers basically going to work in different kind of layers for every single part of the characters there, right? There will You will find a lot of difficulties there, okay, when you want to make some changes there. That's why most of the students feel stressed. This is the real thing that happens a lot with my students that if some of the students, some of the batches, I'm not actually teaching them. I'm not saying the method is wrong. It's not wrong, okay, but it's not suitable for the students there because most of the students are going to be work independently for their works there for the FYP project, especially animation subjects lah. Rarely we can find group projects there. If there is a group projects, if there is 4 people, one of them might not going to do the works there, right? So there is no point here right now, right? For me, it's a very such a waste when it comes to graduations. When I want to hire someone, basically, okay, I want to take a look on their works there. It's not all about the group work itself there, because group works, you guys learn how to manage the team there, work with the team works there, okay? But the individual skills, nothing much we can see from there. So that's why I'm not quite agreed and also encourage, okay, especially students to work with a very huge, big kind of groups, okay? At least 2% in one group is more than enough for the FYP. So you guys can do more works and you know basically your kind of obstacle and challenges and experience, okay, to solve that problems in a very small kind of numbers of people there. And you can make your own decisions at the same time there, okay? You don't have to worry about to fight to each other there. Those are the things that I find from the experience there, right? So because no one actually have been hired, okay, or get any kind of what you call that commission from those group works that you have to spend more money on that, right? It's quite very stressful basically, right? To work with these kind of groups there, okay? So now this is your characters, right? Hey you. I'm going to use, okay, because every single characters when we design basically they have a different kind of personalities there. You have to remember that, okay, when we design the characters here, we have to make sure, okay, even though they looks almost the same, but the features there, the features from all these characters, right, they're going to be show the different kind of personalities, right? So that kind of things have to remember, okay, when we design the characters we have to imagine also, and one of the best way normally people will create some of the bibles there, some instructions about the characters itself there. Have you heard about it before? Some instructions of the characters there. So that's why when you asked me, you told me before, okay, why we actually have done a lot of characters works, okay, for the past 2 weeks there. It's a very small kind of what we call that uh, some demonstrations that I give you guys, okay, in order to understand about how to develop the character. But basically, it's beyond that. Okay, without the characters, you won't be able to animate characters well there. Okay, you won't be able to understand how actually I'm going to animate the characters there. So I'm going to start. Maybe I'm going to start with, because when we have this kind of long characters like this, the motions when we do walk cycles are going to be slightly different there, because I've seen some of the students have actually designed one of the characters to have a very long hands like a gorilla, okay, and when even though I actually have given them basically, okay, I'm going to use these brushes over here, right? Sorry, I'm fun, right? I talk a lot, okay. When I talk a lot, sometimes I forget some of the things that I should actually attend you guys, okay, entertain you guys, okay, on the sessions here. So now, normally, right, okay, we can use pencil tools to draw, right, a very simple, neat kind of styles of characters, or you can use a free-from brush tools, okay. The brush tool itself, I always use the use pressure kind of strokes. You can find basically at the bottom of the toolbars there, okay. So now, when I actually draw my characters normally, I rarely use black colors there. Black colors for me is quite traditional kind of methods, right? Okay. So most of the animations, yes, you see those black outline. Okay, for me, I'm going to use difference there, right? Dark brown colors there, okay. And of course, if you test the brushes itself, if you use tablet, okay, they have a lot of free form kind of strokes there, okay. You can actually control the pressures there. This is one of the reasons I use basically these brushes. And the other thing is, because when I actually have designed a lot of animations before, right, when I use actually, right, pencil tool, for example, here, right, these pencil tools, we have to change the colors at the top of the slide there, right? And then if we use these pencil tools like this, right, of course, the line is going to be quite neat there, right, okay, and nice, okay? But I find out that when come to animations, they will make my kind of process of works to animate the characters going to be a little bit more slower there, okay? So when I use this, what we call that line, okay, line tools there, okay, like they have a smooth, straighten, and indirect in a very more free kind of forms there, okay? And also animation is all about precise, okay? Even though we can exaggerate the characters here, but when it comes to changes, the motions, the pose, it's all about the precision there, okay? About the precise there, okay? Accurate, okay, kind of shapes there. So to make sure that the animation doesn't look a little bit more loose when it comes to do the different kind of motions there. And of course, one of the reason we actually design the characters a bit more, what we call that in the brush strokes over here, okay? And of course, you can actually change also the brush size there. Just now I'm using very quite thick brushes there. When I want to use these brushes over here, okay, one of the reason is because I want to make the character look more alive directly, other than just very slick kind of motions there. Slick kind of what we call that uh, shapes there. So if I want to design here directly, I'm going to what we call that. I'm going to make sure that okay, some of the parts basically won't be able to move right, okay, or being separated, okay, between those uh, parts there, right, okay. So what I can do right now, if we want to draw all these characters here, make sure you separate all the parts that we might going to use to create the movements, right? To create the movements here. So, so if you make mistakes there, okay, just Control Z there, okay? And then when you have actually select the shapes or you draw the shapes, okay, you just group them up. Control G for group there, okay? So the process of designing this kind of characters here when you have design, right, and you actually have visualize your ideas, yeah, right? Okay, zoom in a little bit, and then you can use K basically for paint bucket, right? Just color them up over here, groups, right? Just copy them, and you can draw also those mouths there, right? The mouths are going to be look like this. Them up there, right? So we have the characters here. So like here you kind of design. Let me check here. Right, they have uh, the model sheets, the expressions, the color options, and 3 bouncing ball exercise there, right? Okay. This one have been separated there, right? Here you, or you haven't separated yet.
It's separated, but I just made it look like they're like a line.
Okay. So the next stage basically, right? Okay, when you actually have designed all these characters here, right? You have to develop some of the. Yeah, I can delete this one. Poses there. What are the possibility kind of poses that we can play around with this kind of design there, okay? So those are the next stage, okay? Because I saw some of you guys have done before there, okay? So I will actually try to develop different kind of poses there, right? Okay. So if I want to make this characters there, right? Okay, raise their hands like this. So I have to go through with all this kind of process there. That's why I say okay, 10 different kind of poses, but basically more than that. All right, more than that. So hopefully you guys will aware, okay, when you design your characters here, please be aware on this kind of situations there, right? So I'm going to use my entirely imagination there, right, to draw this character because these characters will be kind of what we call that very flexible there, right? So that means I can imagine some of the expressions that I want to use, right? And one other good thing because when we actually have grouped some of the images there, right? That's why when we actually double click to those shapes, so I can use this, what we call the selections over here. I can move on the anchor point over there and I can rotate or skew a little bit there. I cannot rotate, skew a little bit there. So when it comes to the motions later on, this is the test animations that we have to do there, okay? That's why animations, basically, there's a lot of process that we have to go through there. Not all people will have the patience enough, okay? So we can give a very simple kind of motions for the characters, right? So what I can do from here, I want to create some of the more expressions there, right? Okay? We're talking about right now, I'm not going to teach you guys to do a straight ahead kind of animations there because straight ahead animations, they're going to take a lot of time. But straight ahead animation, maybe I'm going to give you guys some examples if you want to create some sort of like elements there, right? Okay, the elements of animations like special effects on animation like flames there basically. So we can use straight ahead animations there, right? But then we can repeat those motions back again. But what we can do okay, for the character animations is all about post-it pose. Remember here, all right? If you browse down from the YouTube, okay, what is post-it pose is all about, you can actually get more detailed information there, okay? But I'm going to give you guys some of the very, for me there, okay, for my kind of what we call that experience that I have before, right? The method that I show students here is basically the methods that I actually use that I find is quite easy for you to plan or imagine, but you have to use your imagination at the same time. If you cannot imagine, try to follow some of the poses that you saw from the reference or Google's there, and you apply back again to your characters. Those are one of the smartest way, right? Because nowadays there's a lot of poses, there's a lot of sample that we can use. But one of the things that we actually going to experience, you act based on your character. You're going to act before you're going to animate or before you're going to develop the kind of poses there. Basically, when it comes to expressions, back in the day, okay, I'm going to copy this one first. How am I going to copy? I can actually use alternate and copy the same kind of what we call that images there, right? Okay? But I can basically I can delete this one. Use onion skins. You can see the transparency there, right? So what I can do here, I can actually change, but make sure right the length is going to be the volumes and the lengths are going to be the same there. All right, change over here. All right, this one, right? What kind of motions that we can use? It's very quite hard if you don't actually play with a lot of imagination from here, from this kind of methods of this kind of styles of characters there, right? It's look quite easy, right? To design. The animate is a different things there. What I can do from here, I always have this kind of what we call that um, the creative kind of blocks there. Okay, when I come to design, when I come to design this kind of styles before, right? This kind of what we call the animations before there. Okay, any kind of characters like before this, right? Because why? Because the experience that we have is not enough yet. Okay, to develop the kind of understanding, okay, to manage our characters well. It came with a lot of experience and also a lot of works, right? Before you're going to know how to imagine it well there. That's why do one single kind of works for me is not that kind of patience there. I believe if you do more, right? If you willing to do more, you will get more exposure there. You're going to make a little bit more expressions from here. All right. If you take a look at the motion itself, right? You can see the motion itself there, right? From the post to post kind of motions. But this kind of post to post animation is not the real animations. It's only a test kind of animations without having enough. We not actually create any time sheet yet. Remember, right? So hopefully you guys have this kind of question. Why actually I didn't use time sheet there? Because this is not the process of animate the real animation. This is the test of draw the pose for your characters there. So let your imagination running wild, or you can actually write down some of the things that you want to do, you want to get involved with the characters there. For example, what are the poses that you want to draw? Write down first, okay? How these characters are going to what we call that walk, for example, there. But not walk cycles yet, but how basically the characters are going to be act or poses when they walk, for example, there. Right. The second thing is, all right, how the character is going to be run. Simple, right? Jump. All these kind of basics or fundamental kind of motion that we are going to use, all right, to animate these characters there. How to be sit, maybe sleep, right? Mm, how actually these characters are going to be get angry, for example, there to show some expressions, right? Okay, some impression at the same times, right? All these kind of basic kind of poses there, right? Okay, cry, for example, there, right? Okay, some expression and also impression and poses, right? All this kind of list there, okay, that you need to apply on your characters. Just write down first, okay. So if you don't have any ideas of what to animate, what to pose, okay, in order to develop this kind of motion, because as I told you guys before, previously, when I actually design my characters, I always want to make the poses and test the animation as soon as possible. I really can't wait to 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 wait, okay, until another 2 weeks, right? Okay, until I get the results there. Okay? I like to get the result quite fast there, right? Okay, even though the animation is not confirmed yet, or maybe when I work with the directors there, okay, with projects management directors there, right? Even though the characters that is not confirmed yet, I will give some suggestions first, because mostly, okay, not even clients, right? Okay, but sometimes our team management also, they cannot actually imagine how the characters are going to move without we, as a character designers, give them the visuals there. They won't be able to imagine, even though they love to watch animation like us, but the way, whatever that people have in mind is not the same like us directly. You have to remember that. So that's why we have to give. That's why I always give the visual steps, right, to make sure that people can imagine how they're going to be look like. Okay? So whatever that we can do from here, right? For examples, right? Right. So if I want to make these characters a bit more shock directly, I'm going to make a little bit more jump, a little bit like that. Then I'm going to stretch a little bit here. So we're applying basically the principle at the same time. Stretch a little bit, right? Then I'm going to move the hands over here into a bit more like a shocking kind of motions there, right? This is only a rough kind of shapes there, kind of poses there, right? Okay? So double click, delete, right? Yeah. What else there? Okay, the legs, let's just say they're going to be look like this over here, right? Just test for it, okay? Even though the proportion's not quite well yet, right? Okay, just test first there. Like this one, I'm going to make it more exaggerated. Maybe like this, but right? More extreme there. I don't know whether the characters have fatigue or not, but I try to improvise a bit from here, right? So the eyes, right? Either you can actually write pop up a bit more bigger, or you can actually write maintain, depending, right, okay, on how exaggerated you want it, okay? Sometimes I'm going to pop up the eyes a bit more, what we call it, outside from the socket, right, okay, to make it more exaggeration from it. So if you take a look at the poses here, there, right, you can see all the motions itself, right? And remember also one thing, what I actually have done there, okay, about the volume and also the arc of these motions there. Can you see that, right? Mm, yeah. This is we're talking about the arc there, okay? We not actually, right, go beyond basically the arc there, right, okay? And the proportions for each, even though the character is quite flexible, that we can actually exaggerate a little bit more. But at the moments when we test the simple kind of motions over here, they still look balanced there, right? But these characters can be go beyond from there, right? It's all based on your creativity there. So when we actually design a very simple characters, it doesn't mean the animations are going to be simple. But that's why when I actually give you guys the example on the um, stickman directly, or not stickman directly, the transformations directly. Stickmans, for me, is not much appealing on in terms of design, because we actually are design students there. Even though the animation is quite very smooth and also lively look there, okay? But for me, when it comes to commercializations, right? When you actually doing some advertising and also some commercial kind of work there, right? They cannot sell, right? Because when we design the characters, even though for animators, normally for the creators, normally they're okay, for the traditional kind of creators, they don't think about all these kind of merchandizations there. But I'm actually came from design kind of discipline. So I'm doing animations at the same time, okay, because I really love the motion itself, that right? So I love the character design itself, that right? So I actually have done the art directions, the creative direction for some of the pilot projects there. I always think all about this kind of merchandizations there, okay? Merchandising, commercializations there, whether the characters can be sell or not directly, not the only technical wise. So that's why, uh, for me, the simplest character that you can create, but it show a lot of appealing there. They have the selling kind of propositions there, right? In other words, okay, when people see your works, when they actually feel excited about it, for example, uh, I always use, okay, when I do my research on the characters, I always use women kind of uh, impressions there, okay? But make sure that these people doesn't have any personal kind of issue with you lah. Those are the one of the important things also, right? Even to your friends or among your friends, if you know some of your friends doesn't like you there, okay, always condemn about your work, for example, there. And we know basically whether the comment or the what we call the critic that they give is actually quite genuine, or they just want to hurt our feelings. That you have to learn all this kind of what we call that experience there, okay? But we actually want to make sure that you design a very what we call that can be accepted with the audience. Okay, find group some for me for the cute characters, for example, there. Okay, find a group of ladies or women there, or a guy who have a very I don't know whether I have or not, but I can feel that kind of right, okay, because we learn about this kind of psychological kind of system, right? Kind of things, right? Process, right? But if you can find these two different kind of peoples there, right? You know what I mean, right? Okay? Like a guy who actually have a metrosexual kind of standard kind of feeling, styles, approach there, right? Okay. This kind of peoples, a group of peoples, give a very genuine kind of opinion there about your design there. I always actually use them, right? Okay? I have a lot of this kind of friends there, right? Okay? Right, who have a lot of very good feminine, because feminine kind of side is more closest to child there, right? Because child, they give a very good kind of opinion there. Okay, if they like the character, they like lah. Okay, but ladies or feminine kind of sides, okay, that have from adults, they have these two kind of what we call the opinions there for me, right? They has a very genuine and also logic. So if I get a very good reactions from them, my kind of direction is, but I didn't use my kids or basically my partner or wife, they basically before this to give this kind of opinion lah, because it's not that quite proper like, because it's the closest friend or closest family members, right? Sometimes they actually give good opinion because we actually a part of our their members there, okay? So it's not quite professional, right? Find some strangers or people who actually you never what you call that approach before, like engage before, or some of the friends that you find quite helpful to give the opinions, then you ask them, okay, whether it's right or not, right? Okay, so those are the things that give the very genuine kind of what we call that opinions, and you see the reaction first, but don't just follow them 100%. We actually have also some sort of like that we have from other characters for those designs, right? Before we actually show them, like don't just randomly show them, like okay. So you prepare first all the obstacle, all the challenges, all the difficulties that you will find, all the possibility that you can find from that characters, right? And then you also have decide, okay, whether you want to use or not, right? Okay, because uh, the opinion out of five is quite balanced there, okay? But if you can find more better there, okay? So those are the things that maybe will help you guys to develop the kind of improvement and ideation, right? Okay? Creativity is okay when you design the characters, right? Okay, but it all came from experience, lah, right? Okay, it all came from experience, right? So if you take a look back, okay, this is the things that actually can guide us, okay, about the arc of those animations there. It's not only the arc of those bouncing balls there, okay, kind of exercise that we have done before there, okay, but this is not the one that actually we've done. We very do is very simple kind of bouncing ball exercise, right? Okay, but for me, it's more than enough there, right? Okay, because why? Because the learning about animations, if you can actually animate the character traits and think about the possibility that you can use for this design there, right? Okay, it will more help you guys to work, okay, on your creations later on. Right now, my mistakes there, okay, I draw on top of the first layers there, some layers there, right? All right, so far you guys understand, right? You have any questions so far? To animate the characters there, to make more smooth the writing, the motion itself. When you want to animate the characters, or you want to draw some pose, think about what are the expressions that you can combine together with the motion for your design there, right? Because when you design the characters before, right, like what do we have here there, right? You have designed the facial expressions, as I actually have mentioned, medium shots there, right? Okay? This is the one of the methods that we always use there. So after we design all this kind of what we call that samples there, right? Okay? To guide basically our animators later on. Okay, this is also one of the process that we have to go through, right? To test the motions there and the expressions using the animations there, right? So character designers basically will start also to give some of the possibility that we can animate these characters there, right? So the job of designing characters is not actually end up until you get the color schemes right, okay? And the whole team are going to follow, okay, the design itself. Because when you want to keep the animators, the directions, you must have a different kind of samples that you guys can use from here. Okay, now okay, I'm going to separate them first. First of all, I'm going to group them up, cut, and paste to the next to the side of this character. And I'm going to group that first, select all groups, right, cut this one, and paste to the same keyframes, because this is the process of animation, at the same time process of uh, process of designing at the same time here. So we have draw a different kind of pose over here, just like that. I think Alfie or Win Han, right, have done that before, right? So this is the part of it, okay, that you guys can actually explore, okay, to work. Okay, check back again our list here. Walk, how this character going to be walked there, right? So when you want to work with the walk cycles, my kind of suggestions here. Sorry, there, right? Copy this one right here. Get it wrong over here. Yes. So right here directly, I have the same kind of poses. But if I want to make these characters walk directly, I just group this now directly. So I break apart. Control B, break apart. So if I want to make these characters walking there, right? So the hands are going to be have different kind of arc there, right? The motions there, right? So let's just say this is the right hand are going to be here, for example, because the hands look a bit more like swing around, okay? This is the second, this is the third one, this is the second one, and these are going to be the third one there, right? Maybe going to be. You have to imagine basically the motions there. You, when you design these characters, did you actually imagine how they work?
Yeah. Sometimes I like if I want to animate,
Something
I
like
get references.
something like. But have you think about this kind of motions here?
Yeah, it's like normal walking or takkan
Normal work.
you walk and you don't move your arms on, right?
But how they move basically, did you think about it?
It's like they drag on the floor because it's like
The flows,
really long,
they just
and the shoulders move like a bit.
drag the right, but
Yeah.
they just drag the motions direct, but they don't actually swing like this one there, right?
Mm.
Mm. So those are the normal thing when people animate directly. But I just want to show how actually you can make the motions a little bit more interesting directly, other we drag directly. So this is one of the guideline of the motion for those hands directly. So you guys can imagine directly how actually the animation is going to move around, okay, to make more interesting on the motion itself there, right? Okay, so if you want to make like hey you say just now, okay, I have also one of the solutions there. One of the solutions that we can use, okay, to animate the walk cycles here. All right. I want to use the same kind of motion, but this is a very simple kind of motions, right? Okay, I'm going to rotate the hands here without doing any kind of changes. This one I have to send you back first. Then I'm going to move right here, right? This is the first drawing, right? We try to use 3 different kind of motions there first. This is basically the 4th drawings there. This is the 3rd drawings there, right? Okay. The hands are going to be moved like this, 1, 2 there, right? Okay. Walking there, right? Okay. But the legs here, they have to be modified, transform, flip horizontal there, right? All right. Here. So this one there, right? The same. Modify, transform, flip horizontals there, right? And check basically where basically the legs are going to be arranged there, right? So 1, 2 there, right? 1, 2 movements over here, right? The next thing is right now when the legs, when the hands over here, right? The right hand are going to be swing at the back. The legs are going to be right. Q for rotations, right? For transforms, the legs are going to be at the front or at the back, logically. Where is it? They're going to be follow the hands are going to be opposite there, right? Which one?
Opposite.
I'm going to opposite there, right? Okay, that's how we can make those balance, lah, right? But this is only a very simple kind of methods of walking, right? Okay, gives you guys some ideas that it works. But if you want to work with the animations later on, make sure you experiment different kind of positions there. Basically on the poses itself, okay? The positions is still three-quarter view. Why we use three-quarter view? They will look more appealing and interesting when it comes to do those motions there. So this one there, right? Before you rotate, select to the middle and the point of view there, right? Make a point and you rotate them. This is one of the simplest methods that you see from the limited animations there. You can see one, two there, right? One, two the motions there. Okay. If I want to make a bit more easy for you to see, I'm going to copy this one, put over here. This one I'm going to put. I just click and click and drag there, right? Click and drag. So it works. We can actually remove frames, select all, select the blank frame directly, remove all the frames over here, and we can actually write lock, close and first. This one also can close. These are the design for walk there, right? One, two there, right? The motion itself there. We have 5 frames per second there, right? 5 frames per movements there. So what I can do right now, I will start to work with the middle keyframes, right? So middle keyframes, I'm going to copy this one right here first. Right, this is middle keyframes there. So what I can do, and just rotate to over here a bit. This one rotate a bit here, and the legs is right here, and this one maybe right here. So check the motions there. See, this is very simple, right? Okay, kind of limited animations there, right? Just to give you guys some idea first, but it's not quite interesting here. You want to do more motions? You want to make more smoother there, okay? Yes, you have to draw different kind of poses, right? This is only a very simple kind of limited kind of motions there, right? So what it can do from here, right, to make it more interesting there, right? The flow itself there, right? Okay. So I'm going to, because the body doesn't move there, right? So what I can do right here, I'm going to stretch a little bit there, so they can see the arc of the movements there, right? Okay. Because the flows of the motions basically, okay, when people walk, okay, they have this kind of arc kind of system there, right? Or something like this one there, right? The first, the fifth, the third. Okay, so this is the in between there, right, of motions. So there is an arc there from here, okay, that will show the logic of the motions, and they don't look a bit more like a puppet there, right? Okay. So to make it more smoother there, right, what we can do from here, I can extend basically the frames, right? What I can do right here, in between there, right? The second one, right, the left hand, move a little bit here, This one, the legs, move a little bit here, rotate a little bit here. But they're going to look would look more like a sliding there, right? But just to give you guys some ideas there how it works there first. And the whole body there, okay? I'm going to stretch a little bit there, right? Yeah. See? The motion is more smoother there, right? But this is a little bit more like a cut out kind of animations there, digital cut out kind of animations there, right? It's a basics kind of motions using the same characters, but very limited kind of movements and doesn't show a little bit more like a very flexibility or dynamic, okay, of the motions there, okay? But it's good for you to test with the motions here. My mistakes may be, okay, for the last times, okay, some of the students have really have a very weak on the understanding on the motion there, okay? When I actually give them a more advanced kind of animations, they find a little bit kind of difficult to follow there because I change the rotations of the movement and I redraw back again, okay? But it can be applied, don't worry there. We made them, don't afraid of these characters there. We made them, we can do whatever that you want as long as you build a very kind of you develop a bit kind of creativities during the process of working over here, right? As long as you know the opposite kind of directions of the movement to each part of the cycles there, right? So for this one, basically, I'm not going to use the third one, but I'm going to use the fifth one to make some adjustments. First of all, I can actually go through with it first, stretch a little bit. The motions over here, just rotate a bit over here. Can you see that, right? Look like a sotong just now, right now, right? Look like a squid a little bit there. This one, rotate a bit here. This one, rotate a bit there. So when you see the movements over here, you can see the smooth kind of movements there, right? Yeah. Okay. So what if, right? I'm going to loop these motions there, right? But using 35 frames. Look a little bit more faster there, right? So how going to make the movements become slower a bit? And also there has a very looping kind of motions there. Right now, even though there is a looping there, right? Let me say I'm change basically the frame rates, okay? From 25 to 10. You see the difference. They don't have any loop there, right? They snap a little bit there, okay? The motions there in frame 5 to go back into the first frame there. So what we can do from here, the guys, I'm going to, before I'm going to extend the frames, I'm going to copy this one to frame 6, the third keyframes, middle keyframes, there, right, to frame 7, and also the second keyframes are in between to frame 8 there, right? And see the difference there. So the animations are going to be looped there, right? Okay. Any questions so far? Is it hard for you to understand them? All right. So that's basically a basic kind of rotations movement on the walk cycle. All right. That we use for limited kind of animations that based from post to post lah. All right. Okay. Post to post. All right. So from here we can do more from here we can do more a lot further. Okay. From this kind of situations there. What we can do right now, because I promise you to I want to show you guys how to animate, to work also with what we call that background there, right? So that mean right now that okay, all the motions that we have here, okay, this one I can actually write delete that first. Last time I saw that okay, some of you guys been working with the character animation for IVN, right? Okay, the animation is quite not quite smoothly there, right? So this is one of the tricks that you guys can use, lah. Okay, but very limited kind of animation there. But it doesn't mean cannot be applied, right? Sorry, there, right? I felt that I want to sneeze there just now. So if I want to make these characters, the whole characters in the middle there. So use edit multiple frames, bring the sliders to the end of the frames over here. Control A, select all, make sure the whole selections over here that can be selected there, right? And then bring over here in the middle there. So the whole frames are going to be transferred there, right? Okay. I think some of the things that I find from this like flicking there, right? Check bringing all of these kind of details there. So from here, what we can do, but I'm using 10 frames per second, that's not right. Change to 25 frames per second back again. So the motion will be more faster there, right? Like this, like a cartoon version there. To make the motions a bit more slower there, right? You extend the frames using F5. Click F5, extend the frames there, right? Okay, extend the frames. All right. Right click, you can actually write uh, insert frames there, right? Insert frame, right click, get insert frames, or you can use shortcut key directly, F5 for it. So if you extend, right, the frames, okay, from single frame to 2 frames, okay, for each movements, they're going to become more slower there, okay, on the motion itself there, right? So this is how it goes there. Normally, depending on the motions, either I can use 3 frames per second, depending on the motion itself. If I want to make the animation a bit more smoother, right? Okay, that's one. Before we color them up, right? Sometimes I use all these kind of frames and color the first. I color first all the characters, and then I'm going to change the motions there, okay? Right, when I actually have finished all the coloring there, okay? But today, basically, I just want to show the rough kind of look first there, okay? If I want to color them up, simple there. I'm going to use, you see this kind of colors there. It's interesting there, right? Okay. Color these areas as usual. Right. Block the what we call that these areas, then color them up, double click, delete there, right? Then go to this one, click Y, and then in bucket to color them up there, right? Look at that. Then goes to this one there, right? But don't create every element into symbols yet, because when you create all element into symbols, whatever that you change from symbols, they're going to follow the whole thing back again. You have to redraw that, right? Okay, those are the problems there. Right now, when you actually have color, you can see some of the mistakes there, right? Okay, what you can do, bring to front, all right? This one, either you want to bring to back to make it more logics, also fine there, right? Okay, that's how actually you can color them up there, right? This one, color there. Stand for the frames. So working with one single frame for each motion for the characters, right? I find a little bit more easy to manage our animations there, rather than we work with different kind of layers there. Because when you talk about one single motions, yes, one single scenes, yes, okay. If you have more than 20 scenes that you want to animate, right, for your projects there, okay, there are going to be a lot of complex kind of situations that sometimes people will give up there, okay, when it comes to animate there. So when I actually have teach some of the students in 2000 to 2001 there, okay, I have this kind of situation that I find most of the students, when they actually learn animation, they don't have the good fundamental kind of skills there. So what I can do to help them to have to still can get the knowledge already on animation itself. I try to create this kind of limited kind of motions for the characters there. But some of the students who can do more than here directly, they feel a bit kind of lazy okay, at the times, because they thought they can do better than mine there, right? That's a normal thing happens in the human being there. But my kind of what we call it objective at the times, I want to make sure that the weaker students in the class also can learn to animate there, and at least they can feel proud a little bit and confidence on what they have done there, right? That are basically my kind of objective there, right? Because I give, if I give more advanced and more advanced directly, some of the students who doesn't have, majority of the students there doesn't have this kind of skills, the very certain kind of skills to make animations there, right? Because animations you need to have the technical skills at the same time. You need to have also drawing skills there, knowledge. If you don't have that both directly, but you still want to do those animations, they send you back there, right? This is a part of the motions. This is a part of the styles of animation that you guys can use first. But don't stick to this kind of motions, okay? Because you will find quite boring there. I have in my YouTubes, I have one pilot kind of projects that is not basically been had because of the very what we call that very internal kind of situations previously, okay, back in the days. I'm using a very kind of limited kind of animations there because at that times we only have 4 people actually involved with the project there. 3 of them basically is a very fresh students there, right? From my kind of college, previous from my college that had been work for me there, okay, because we actually have a very tight budget. At times we only have I only get 40K, for example, that I if I not 40K to work around 4 months there, okay, to create one single 25 minutes kind of pilot there, okay, project called Pinta there, right? So the only person who actually have experience at that times, but we still learn, right? Okay, is me. So I have to lead these 3 group of students who really want to work and get some experience. We pay them around, I think around at that times 1,005, 1,005 that day for the freshers, okay, for the freshies, okay. So we have to live with all this 40K, okay, 5 people in the project itself for 4 months there, right? Very tight kind of budget at the time there, because we actually have done the whole thing except the script. But the script also, when I translate into storyboard, I have to rearrange the whole thing back again to make sure the animations look a bit more practical, okay, to present that, right? 35 minutes there, 4 months there, right? Okay. So now, okay, when you see the motion itself, okay, want to have I don't want to have a lot of fancy kind of color kind of schemes here there, okay. I want to show you guys the technical kind of parts, how to animate these characters if they want to move around from point A to point B. All right, what I can do from here, we have that we call the classic tween, but I'm using motion tween, but you don't use motion tween there, right? Okay? If you use Adobe Animate, use classic tween there, right? What we can do from here, first of all, okay, we haven't create all symbol for these elements here. Select all first, right click, not create motion tween first, copy the frames. All right, copy the frames there, right? Okay, and then convert into symbols there, right? Convert to symbols, or control F8, right? The symbols. This is walk number 1. Rename your files in graphics, click OK, right click, paste the frame there. All frame inside one single symbol there. Okay. Okay, remember that, okay? How many frames involved here? Around 24 frames there, okay? Of movements there that we actually have extend. So what we can do from here, I can delete all these frames first, remove all of it. And then I'm going to click F7. F7, basically we insert blank keyframes. Okay. It's a one single frame, right? So I'm going to click to this, select to this, walk cycle kind of motions over here. You can actually write playback in the libraries. Bring over here back again. Then I'm going to extend the frame until 25 with one single sprite there, right? We call it sprite there, right? There. So if you want to add some editing there, okay, you just double click. You can go into the walk kind of stage libraries here. You want to go back, double click there, right? Go back to your scene. All right. So what we can do from here, all right, now. Remember, okay, you are going to use classic motion tween. Classic tween there, right? Okay. Check it back again, okay, when you right click there in your Adobe Animate, right? Don't use motion tween, classic tween there, okay? So what I can do from here, I'm going to bring this guy, click shift to this side, and I'm going to click to the last keyframes here, and I'm going to right click and insert another keyframes, F6 there, right? Then I'm going to move this guy out from the frames there. See what happens there, right? So you don't have to redraw the whole thing back again. But this kind of motions based on the timing from the frames there. Using 25 frames, right, okay, of movements, and the length of the background or space or stage are going to be quite long there, right? So you can extend the motions there into maybe 54. You can make the motions a bit more slower there, right? See? And this is how actually like we can buy sometimes we have play some tricks to extend the timing for our scenes in in our stories there, right? So you want to make more slower there, right? Okay, you just extend that into, I just say 74. So how many seconds that we have here? Around 2 seconds there, right? 2.9 seconds there of motions that you don't have to redraw the whole walk cycles again. Okay, you're going to make the characters pass by from point A to point B there. Okay, I can extend a bit more right here, and then see the motions that become more slow there. So we got around 3.9 seconds there without doing a lot of work there from here. We just draw how many motions just now? 5 different motions on the single walk cycle, basic walk cycle. We copy and extend them and create motion trains there. You see, they become a bit more logic there, right? Okay, on the movement itself there. We can extend more if you want to, depend on your timings there, right? Make it more slow with there, right? So this is how actually we play tricks sometimes. Okay, because to animate around 6 seconds of animation, sometimes people always think a lot of complicated kind of movement, for example, lah. Right. If you go through back again, most of the motion for the animation itself, like in every scene or every shot there, basically, every single actions, they are not going to be extend more than 2 seconds normally. But if you have to buy sometimes there, we just want to play some tricks there. Okay, want to show some environment, some locations there on our scenes there. This is some of the tricks that we can use. Even though in between of the motions, you can add another extra kind of actions if you want to, right? But depending there, how the storylines or how actually you're going to make your characters are going to be acted right. Okay, this is what motion tween or classic tween is all about. For Adobe Animate, we're using classic tween. All right. If you use motion twins, it's going to be complicated a bit there. Okay. So if you use motion twins, for me, it's quite easy and the right to work. Okay, guys. Any questions right now? The right there, all right. Simple there, right? To work with it, but this kind of motions, even though it can be worked with most of the characters that you're going to design, but sometimes when you design a very human kind of look of characters, if you animate like this, they look like a puppet lah. But this one a bit more like an alienate kind of characters there, right? So it doesn't look quite weird there, but we still can improvise from here, right? Maybe in the next class I can actually improvise there, right? So right now I'm going to design for you some background there, right? Simple kind of background there. Can you have experienced this kind of background design in IVN there, right? Okay, hopefully she's doing well there, right? Okay, you right now what I can do from here, because without background sometimes our presentations look a bit more weird, right? Okay, so I'm going to use pencil tool first because I want to make sure when I design my kind of backgrounds here, I want to make the backgrounds a bit more like very is accessories, right? Okay, it's not going to be stand out like my characters there, right? Okay, I want to show the characters a bit more, a little bit more like focal point there, okay? There's a focus kind of direction or contrast between the backgrounds there. So how the backgrounds are going to be look like. This is basically the center point, right? of the middle horizon there, not quite high but low horizon, not quite low or high horizon, a bit kind of medium kind of horizons there, right, for my ground there, right? So even though we can actually, right, uh, design every single element uh, in by groups there, right? Okay? So we can actually replace some of the things. For example, like if I want to draw some trees over here, right? Sketch some trees there, right? Things like that. What I can do right now, come on, guys, they don't want to, what do you call that? They don't want to follow me here. So let's just say I'm going to paint right here in my background there. Some elements there, right? So what I can do right here, double click, delete, right? Oops, and paste. I have the tree there, right? Flips, right? I can change if I want to here. Let me see, I change over here. What's the shadows there, right? In directions there. Later also I can actually change some of the, I want to add some details. Yes, I can. All about designing back again, huh? Right? It's all about designing there, right? So to develop more creativity is okay, to develop your design kind of stuff there, right? Right here, I want to make, right, another branch right here, right? And some of the tree, right, I can do that as well, there, right? Maybe like here, there, right, the shadows that fall off, right here, there. So click, delete there, right? And I can actually create some sort of contrast kind of looks from these patterns there, right? Right then, let's see, size, right? And if I want to use another one there, right? And resize there. We can do. And what else we can do from here? If you actually, right, create into symbols there, tree number one. This is tree number two. This is tree number three there, right? Okay. With the symbols there, we can advanced settings, change the colors there. See? Change the colors there. So not alpha, advanced setting, we can change the colors there, right? Yeah. Okay. Multiple kind of design. Look a little bit more like Rajan there, right? You look a bit more like you do a lot of hard work there, but it's not there. It tricks there, right? It's a tricks there. That I do a lot of kind of tricks when I actually have running a lot of time there, right? So normally I'm going to do this kind of things there, this kind of tricks there, right? But it doesn't actually cheat there, right? It's not a cheat there. It's a technique, right? That you can playing around, right? We call creativity steps words. What else we can do from here? Okay, let's just say I want to create some sort of simple kind of bushes there, right? But the thing is, right now, okay, right here, there, right? Foreground, middle ground, and background there, right? Okay, the backgrounds maybe some sort of mountains a bit there, right? It's very simple kind of what we call that ideas of creating basically your background there, right? So the foregrounds a bit more darker, lah, right? To show a bit more contrast. And of course, I can actually write design different kind of patterns if I want. Okay. So all these kind of ideas basically I get from most of the cartoons that I watch there. Improvise a little bit there. A bit more detailing there. Okay. People see that we have that enough efforts there, okay, to create our design itself. Like, even though these areas basically we can actually separate them if you want to, because you can separate into different layers there, okay? Top layers, because background sometimes, even to make a bit more like a depth of fields, we can actually write separate each layers there. For example, right here, there, right? Delete this one there first, right? And select these areas, shift and select them, group. Simple as that. This one double, right? I'm going to select this one, okay, and group them up. All right. Okay. So later on, if I want to make some of the bushes over here a bit more, right, higher directly. So when the characters pass by directly, they do the actually right. They have some depth and also some different kind of compositions there, right? What I can actually right, cut this one, add to another layers on top of it. This is basically going to be the foreground there, right? Piece right here. So when the character move, right? Uh, this is basically the art of it, right? We can actually write give a little bit kind of different kind of feel there, right? Okay? On the motion itself, on the whole presentation itself there, right? One right here, and a bit there, right? The, the very simple composition, but very effective. Present your works there, right? So the ground itself there, right? Okay? These different colors over here. A bit more warm, but combined with some cool colors over here, just to give a bit more. And lastly, basically, right, the mountains, green, and also some of the sky there, right, more lighter there, right. Double clicks, delete the first. But you can add more depth on this kind of composition if you want to. For example, like clouds, right? I can use this kind of shapes. Just add some sort of cloud shapes over there. Colors there, right? Okay, just to show more depth from there. There's a lot that we can do from here. The composition over here, there, right? I can actually draw some of the bushes over here, right? Just to add a bit more details if I want to. Sometimes if we don't plan in sketches directly, we use a very raw kind of what we call that kind of what we call the process that we have in mind there, right? So we have to kind of elements which is might going to be work or not, okay, for our whole compositions there. So what else if I want to if I don't want every single shapes has a shadows there, right? What I can do, this is some of the tricks that I use. I can use very this kind of shapes like this there, sliding like this one there, right? Actually, right. basically, so basically the shadows areas there. But this one a little bit more light. It can be, right? And the whole motions over there. These character shadows we can create into the state, into the library kind of stage there, right? So basically you have the background, a very simple background, right? Okay? At the moment that if you really want to, what we call that, develop the concept styles of your presentations for the whole world of your characters itself, that right? Okay, we can apply that, and of course that's beyond there. Okay, when I was actually done this kind of methods in AI before there, okay, because my time there is no Micromedia Flash or directors or animator, okay. So we done most of the entire works in Photoshop. But if I use Photoshop, basically I want to have a certain kind of textures for my kind of backgrounds there, okay. So depending there, okay, on the style that I want to push, right? So, but we're working with Flash also. If you can play with a very nice kind of color combinations like this one there, right? They will look more presentable for your design, okay. So we go back into this guy. I'm going to put some shadows there. One of the lazier shadows there. I'm using laziest because I always want to cut my process of working a bit more quicker there, right? Especially when I produce my work there. I will try to find a very more productive, more practical kind of way there, okay, to develop the shadows there. Those design is not that quite complicated there, right? Okay. So what I can do normally, right? So I'm going to draw the shadows there. Very simple kind of draw shadow, but the shadow going to be looking more lively. Like, you know what, the shadows will be more like a flexible kind of what we call that kind of shapes there, okay? They can be morphing around, okay, in based from the lighting that actually have been been direct to the object itself, right? So shadows, the physical of the shadows, personality of shadows, they will be a bit more like a morphing, flexible, and also very kind of dynamic kind of feel there, right? Okay, when you saw the shadows there, it's not look like stiff there, right? It look like very stiff there, right? So what it can do, using the right kind of amount of colors there, right? Deep colors there, I think that came from the ground itself there, I think. So just now when I use the ground look more like greenish a bit there, right? So I use a very deep kind of colors from green, and then I'm going to change to the alpha 75 to 60%, for example, okay? Not too deep there, right? So I will draw the frame there. This is one of the laziest way there. Okay, then I'm going to use some onion skins just to draw them. You will see the results will be quite lively. But careful with it, right? So don't overdraw the right. Sometimes 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 5. Right. The more higher the object's going to be, the more thinner of the shadows there, right? So right now we can copy this one here. We can copy this one over here. And we can copy this one over here, there, right? See the shadows there, right? It's a bit more lively there, right? Because the motions here is very stiff there, right? So when we use a very lively kind of shadows there, right? They will look to be more lively for the motion and for the presentation itself like that. I hear the sound in this. What is it, Tanya? Okay, guys. So if you want to display the motions there, right? If you want to look at the motion itself, we can control enter there, right? See the whole motion. 25 frames seconds. This is a I think around 4 seconds or 6 seconds kind of motions, right? 6 seconds there. Around 5 seconds there, okay? Of motions there. Alright, guys? So this is a part of it, right? Right. One of the things that I'm actually do some demonstration in our lecture class because I believe I can give a little bit kind of theory at the same points, at the same times, okay, the demonstrations on how actually we do things there, okay, because the effective way for me, right, okay, to give you guys some examples is by doing things there, okay, in order to develop those animations there. Right. Any questions there so far? Guys, I have to warn you guys, this is only one basic walk cycle that I actually demonstrate today. Okay, we have another walk cycles there we can actually playing around, but using the same positions but different kind of what we call that pose position for the limbs and the parts itself there, right? Okay, so because we want to make a bit more dynamic kind of feel on the motions there. Right now we're just using rotations that works there, okay, without using a bone there system. Okay, because we guys learn, okay, if you don't actually develop this kind of understanding first, using pose to pose, 5 frames per second there as usual. Even though I'm not using timesheet, but basically I'm using timesheet there just now, okay, to work with the 5 frames per second of the motions. If you actually develop this kind of discipline of working, I can assure you, you won't be able to have a difficulty to animate any kind of motions later on. But they will get more exciting, okay, because they will bring you some. Because if you can get a fast result for your motions, hopefully they will actually give you guys some addiction kind of feelings there. You want to do more and more, explore and more from your characters there. Because a lot of things happens normally, okay, when people spend too much time animate their characters without having the ending directly, without having the directions directly, where they want to go with this motion directly, they will give out a lot directly. Because we have spent a lot of time to designing the characters that we like to work with. And then we have to develop also some of the poses that might we are going to use for the animations there to find a lot of possibility there. Okay? So this kind of process basically is quite tedious, quite critical for us to develop there. Okay, because but we have to understand that first. But when it comes to animations, if you cannot find a very simple solutions like this, I don't know about you guys, but this is one of the simplest solutions that I can show you guys today. How to animate in 5 frames only, and we repeat the motions at the same time, and we can extend the times. Okay, people want to do this 6 seconds animations, they take the whole day. We actually did the 5 seconds of animations, only a few minutes there, right? Using the classic motion tween. But not all animations can use motion tween. Huh? Remember that. Bouncing ball, yes, maybe we can. But not all bouncing ball exercise directly. Some of the different kind of motions maybe can, but not all the time there. Normally, we mix them up. Okay, we mix them up, okay, pose to pose and motion tween together, but we use different kind of layers sometimes. That kind of things we can do in advance, okay, but not today. So any question there, guys? All right. So hey, you can actually animate the characters later on, huh? Today, basically, all right, guys. I just want you guys to prepare first, okay? Whatever that you guys learn. If you want to test, if you don't want to wait, just test first those animations there. Those are the best ways. Don't wait until Friday, then we can work on it. Because on Friday, because I want to show another demonstration. Okay, I want to show demonstration based on the characters. Right? So hopefully we're going to get whatever that you're going to design, okay, from this stage, we're going to use for our animation. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah,
basically
nah,
you want us to
no
get
question.
this done. So basically you want us to get this done by Friday.
Not yet, but if you test, go ahead there, right?
Okay. Okay, okay.
Right. Yeah, you want to test, go ahead, okay. It's not compulsory, but I already show you guys. But If you think you want to work on that first, go ahead. Because if you wait, because maybe on Friday I'm going to show some different kind of techniques of walk cycle there, right? So if you don't test, you will find quite confusion later on. Maybe that, right? Okay? But if you really understand whatever possibility that you can use to post your characters, I don't think it's quite going to be difficult for you to do those exercises there. Okay, all right. Because I remember that you say that, right? Okay, maybe if I give you guys this exercise today, right, compulsory there, okay, like very strict there, okay, you might not going to be finished then. So it's very good. I will give you guys a bit kind of rules there for you guys to check, look back again, if you have to test back again under your own wheels there, then you can actually have more free times, right? Not feeling stressed, right? To what we call that to to chase the deadline for every week there. So we only have one single deadline for every week, not two different kind of deadlines that as usual that I planned before, right? So they will give more time for you guys lah, okay? But don't worry there. But if you think that you want to make based on your own, go ahead. Because for me, it's quite excited because when I see the characters were moving there, okay, I want to do more for me if I have time there. But I'm afraid I have to go to hospitals right now. If I cannot actually do more, I can extend if I want to, okay, our class if you okay. Because last time I have a class until 4 o'clock straight, okay, but we have 2 rest hours, but not for you guys lah, the semester, right? So normally if I get this kind of characters motions, okay, I will feel more excited. I want to do more from you. What I can do, I want to do run cycles, I want to do jump cycles at the same time, and we can see the whole motions with the backgrounds involved itself there, right? Okay. So if you have any questions, hopefully I can get more time to what we call that download these files because normally it takes a bit time sometimes okay, uh, to 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 get all these files together in our Teams, and then I can download back again, right? So,
Right. I think,
right?
right, we cannot
Mm-hmm.
really see the videos on Teams is because like the permission settings are from you didn't change, is it?
Okay, wait up. Let me check for you guys.
Because there's like
Because
a permission setting one.
permission settings, is it?
Yeah.
But I have to, not this device setting, is it?
No. It's like you go to the chat, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go to the chat,
Okay. So
and
now
then
actually at the chat, right?
yeah, and then
File
go to one of like the recordings, and then no. You go to the chat,
or
right?
one of the recordings there, right? One of the
Mm.
recordings here.
And then you open in Microsoft Stream.
Okay, just wait up.
So you don't have to like download and then upload to YouTube every time lah. Because very
This one there, right?
troublesome.
Open screens, right?
Yeah.
That's why I say. That's why I try few number kind of times that you work on that.
And
Then
then press on view settings or more actions. Yeah.
this one there, right?
No. Um.
Or view settings over here, right? This is
uh,
theater mode,
I think it's there. Oh no.
not this one there, right?
Give me 1 second.
Uh, or update video details.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, update video details. There, people share to the peoples or my groups,
Yeah.
or allow everyone in community to view these videos.
Mm.
Permission there. Maybe they're right.
Yeah.
And then people that share any combination of people, channel or group that are part of your company. Okay, like good. Maybe you're
Yeah.
right.
Mm.
Right.
Then
We try first
share.
here, then apply.
Yeah.
Okay. We try first there. Can you see this video?
Let me go
First?
check and see.
You check first there. Video. Okay, guys. Let me recall that. Um, You can write. Okay, good.
Cannot eh. Wait.